So the Persian Princes are up and running within the competition with 3 points. We'll see the three Lions later today. The Oranhe as well. All of this and more in this Now Streaming Qatar. So, Iran have registered their third win in World Cup history. USA 1998, Morocco 2018, and beating a European team for the first time ever at the World Cup. Getting better of Wales. Welsh hearts sunk as 2 stoppage time goals have almost ended their World Cup campaign. Hello, good morning to everyone tuning in. Thank you so much for tuning in to 876 Stream JA's coverage of the greatest show on earth. This is Now Streaming Qatar. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button as well. I'm Simon Preston, and we have a very esteemed panel joined with us this morning, similar to what we had on Wednesday morning as well. We have Stefan Hausen to my far right, and to my immediate right, it's Joel Lee. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm good. I'm fully woken up now.
Fully woken up.
It's been a challenging couple of days waking up at 5 a.m. But that Iran game fully woke me up now.
Good.
Did you need coffee as well, or Iran just provided that? Just
I had a little bit of coffee, but I didn't need any more after that. Stoppage time.
Stefan, the Welsh, you know, like when you buy a vehicle and over time it's aged and you need to go to the mechanic a bit more often. Does it feel like that in a sense to their program from Euro 2016?
Yeah, I think it's the end of essentially the Gareth Bale, Aaron Ramsey era. The fact that you're still holding on to these guys. The Welsh system has been fairly simple for the last 5-10 years. They found 2 super players in Bale and Ramsey, built around them, and they've always delivered in these tournaments. I think it's just a tournament too far for them. Bale, he got the penalty in the last game, but he doesn't have the movement he once did. Same with Aaron Ramsey. He was the one sacrificed for the goalkeeper that came on. You'd never see that 2 tournaments ago. But yeah, I think it's just the end of the road for them, and it's such a road too long for them.
Yeah, and your thoughts as well, Joel, about the Welsh in terms of their display this morning?
Well, it was very interesting. I'm thinking that they're showing a lot of nerves, having been the first qualifying since 1958.
Mm-hmm.
And we always talk about it with this World Cup. This is the last we're planning to see with some of these players. So as you mentioned, Bale, Ramsey, a lot of them. This is pretty much our last major international tournament. The most they will go to that I'm seeing is probably Euros, if they make it that far, but not necessarily as a starting. Iran, on the other hand, they came out to play.
Indeed, they certainly did. And Wayne Hennessy getting the first red card of this World Cup and the 174th red card in World Cup history. And many may be wondering as well, have any goalkeepers in the past received red cards at the World Cup? Yep, there's been a few in particular to be aware of. 2 in the past. We have to go back to 1994. Gianluca Pagliuca of Italy. That was against Norway back in 1994. And to South Africa 2010. Yeah, unfortunately, South Africa's goalkeeper against Uruguay in the group stages of the World Cup. That is Tumeleng Kune. And, of course, they lost that game to Uruguay. And, of course, Uruguay went on later in the competition to finish 4th. Stefan, are Wales, in your eyes, out? That's it, bearing in mind they have England the last game? Or, based on the history of the 2 teams, there could be a chance?
When it comes to math, the math says that they're still in it, right? regardless of if England win today, that's going to be a big decider of how England approach that last game. If you're a Welsh fan right now, you're probably hoping England, they get the victory in the game against the USA and they rest a couple of guys for that final game. But with these large squads, England should rest people and still bring out a fairly good team. So yeah, they're still in it, but it's not looking good for them.
Yeah. At Campion they teach a lot about math and it's not the time, so you'd have to live on hope.
It's a slim hope, a slim chance.
Yeah, but on your own side of things, 3 precious points, and they would be optimistic for the Americans as well.
Well, from Iran played against England, yes, England dominated that, goals and everything and how they played, which England made me eat my words based on what I said before, how they did a passing game and the goals from open play, which were almost non-existent before this tournament. Iran has shown, and not even just from England, but they've continued to show their discipline in how they play their game. So continuing this, going into the USA game, if USA is not able to secure any form of positive result, whether a draw or a win, it's going to be a hard game against Iran. Coming off of a win, 2 stoppage time goals, 2 brilliant stoppage time goals.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Absolutely.
a hard one.
Yeah, indeed, quite a tough pill to swallow for the Welsh. We have a graphic that will be coming up on your screen in just a moment as it relates to what lies ahead for today and what a start that we had, especially in Group B with the Iranians getting a victory. There you go. Coming up at 8 o'clock, it's Qatar, the host nation, against Senegal, the Netherlands against Ecuador at 11 a.m. and at 2 o'clock, England against the USA. A repeat of 1950, 2010 as well. So 3 more matches on store for today, and of course we'll have our post-game show at 4 o'clock as the weekend commences. So after today, all teams from Groups A and B will have completed their games in the competition. We'll touch on the England against USA game quite shortly, but first, the next game on the day, Qatar versus the Senegalese outfits. Joel, firstly, Qatar, we're almost a week into the World Cup. Your thoughts about the way they've managed to host the tournament as a whole? We've seen day-by-day stuff about journalists, human rights stuff, but just hosting the tournament as a whole, your thoughts about the package that they've put together?
Well, I haven't seen too much about the fan village. I've heard that, and I've seen where people have gone out in like the middle of the day for fan village and expecting to see it, and eventually they realize that everybody goes out at night. Yeah. We do know that they have alcohol in the fan village as well, so they've made a concession to their no alcohol policy, which is a good step in the entire direction. I think a lot of people are tone deaf about their culture. And they're very tone deaf about trying to push what they feel as human rights. I think overall Qatar has managed they've managed it well enough. I mean, most people are more westernized and they're going to be, oh no, this is not normal. But I mean, if we look at it, some of the things that we do over here are just not normal to them. So in 2026, we're going to have that issue again. It's just not going to be as global. I mean, we're even looking at England and Germany, and I think it was, I don't remember the last country. I think it might have been Belgium that are talking about leaving FIFA over this issue, and
right.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, certainly a lot to go into. But heading into the game itself, Stefan, we spoke on Sunday in relation to Qatar. Quite a disappointment from what we saw. Copa America, Gold Cup, the Asia Cup as well. A grand opportunity for them to go out there and, make recover from those mistakes early on.
Yeah, it's like we said, in previous tournaments that they've gone to, as you mentioned, they didn't embarrass themselves. But that first half in the opener, they certainly did. They were lucky to go in at the scoreline that they did. Second half, I thought they played more closer to what we're used to seeing from them. It's going to be interesting because, despite everything off the field, I do like to see the host countries do well at the tournaments that they host. So I do want to see them have some positive results. I don't want to see them get smashed. They're going up against an interesting Senegalese team. I've gone on record that I'm not a big fan of the Senegalese team or African football on a whole. Yeah. I think Mama Africa is actually crying right now based on the results. But yeah, it's going to be a tough game for both teams. Senegal, they definitely look toothless without Mane. I don't see where the goals are coming from, but Qatar, if they play how they played on Sunday, there's going to be opportunities. It's just for Senegal to take them.
Joel, your thoughts as well? The 12th man, in terms of Qatar. And as Stefan said,
in their stadium.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So looking at both games, they seem almost pretty much evenly matched. In the opening game, you can see the nerves in that first half. Some of the mistakes that keeper mistake, some of those things, and then they settle down. And honestly, the 2 best chances that they got were at the end of each half. Senegal, as you said, without Mane, they kind of look a little bit lackluster, but it doesn't discount their fight. So I'm really looking for a good game today. I'm predicting a Senegal win, but I'm predicting Qatar will get a goal. I'm hoping they will get a goal based on if everything clicks.
Right, so Qatar, one of the few teams at this World Cup that haven't scored just yet. Of course, their debut at the World Cup, the 80th team to play in this competition. We wait to see Canada's first goal at the tournament as well. So a lot to look forward to in that 8 o'clock encounter. Let's slightly look ahead to the 11 a.m. fixture, Stefan. The Dutch, a team that you have spoken about for quite some time since back in the Facebook chat days,
yes.
with the Dutch team, the Johan Cruyff era. Top of the table clash against Ecuador could be a compelling encounter, bearing in mind the styles of both teams.
Yeah, interesting contrast in styles. The Ecuador team, they're very lively. They run for days. Younger team. They have a youthful exuberance to them, and they're fairly forward thinking in the counter attack. While the Dutch, they're pretty simplistic. It's not the Johan Cruyff era of Dutch football, but they go out there. Van Gaal, he has them well drilled. They know the lines and the channels that they're supposed to occupy. They do have the technical ability in comparison to most of the European or most of the countries in the world, where they do have that edge, so they can play their football that is more similar to what we'd expect from them. Not as gung-ho going forward. But if you even look at that game against Senegal, I saw a lot of people bigging up the Senegal performance, and in my mind, I thought Holland were in total control for the majority. Even the chances they gave up, those are chances that they're happy to concede, shots from distance that they know their keeper will handle. I think it's going to be an interesting combat between the two styles. Holland will sit back. They'll allow Ecuador to run themselves, and they'll try and counter and make the passes to open them up in the transitions.
Quite an interesting time ahead for the Dutch. And Joel, your thoughts about it. Ecuador, we saw them the opening day, brought a lot of youth forward. Some that played the Under-20 World Cup and did so well for them. So, your thoughts heading into this encounter as well. Is this for you one of the matches of the day, or more so the England one?
Well, definitely that England-USA match is going to be a match of the day. For the Netherlands versus Ecuador,
yeah,
I feel Netherlands will just let them run. Just run out your legs. And I mean, it's generally a tactic you will see in certain games where you'll sit back, allow them to run. Your defense is going to crowd it out, sorry. And then by 60, 70 minutes, you just counter, because they have a bench, but you know what you have in your team for the Dutch, and they can counter. So it's going to be a very interesting game of tactics, and if the teams can stick to the game plan that is given to them.
And Stefano, what a lot of people like, and why the Dutch, especially back home in the Netherlands, the press put a lot of emphasis on Dumfries and his role on the right, because of his ability not only overlap, to underlap as well. Yeah. Not many can and have that ability to do so. Would you say he's the X factor, or more a Frankie de Jong or Cody Gakpo?
I think when you look at a purely attacking sense, as in who gets into the box, who creates those goal-scoring opportunities, shots, final passes, Dumfries is incredibly interesting as a wing-back. As you say, he has a fantastic overlap ability, but he does also have a fantastic underlap ability. If you watch him for Inter Milan, he's consistently in the box on the end of things. Whether it's across from the left, he's usually in the back post, or he likes to combine and get inside. He's a big part of the type of football that the Dutch play. His attacking contributions can never be discounted. It's a bit similar to how Trent plays for Liverpool, where they just say, you know what, defensively we know you're not all there, we're going to account for that, but you do the damage where we know you can do the damage. So it's going to be interesting to see how Senegal left back counters that. Yeah,
certainly an interesting one to look forward to. And folks, let us know your thoughts in the comments as well. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to 876 Stream JA on YouTube. On Instagram, it is 876 Stream. And on Twitter, Stream876. Let your comments and let us know everything that you have to say. Jev is tuning in, and you guys will see Jev later today. He says, Simon, full of England jersey, see. So I only have 2 England jerseys. One is in the wash and one I'm wearing right now. And as you can see, Joel is using my scarf for today, and she's definitely supporting England. So that is outstanding news. So let's move on to the England side of things as well, Joel. We saw the result, Wales against the Iranian team. If it was a draw, all England would have needed to do was to win, and that would top the group. But now there's still something to play, not only for the Americans, but the Wales game as well, the last game of the tournament. They're likely to go at the same 11. Your thoughts about that in particular, from the Iran game?
Well, if you're going with the same 11, if you're going with the same game plan, it will be USA. Because I know that USA likes to sit deep and try and draw people out, but the way how England was overlapping, and the plays, the passing in the out, much different than we saw them before. That is a little bit harder to counter, because they find the spaces and they get the goals. Obviously, six of them. And then, interestingly enough, with Hurricane not on the score sheet, you're going to get these crosses in. Again, we have Zimmerman, who is he's up there in his age, but is he going to be able to stop some of these quick forwards we have? You have Sacco, and he's clearly on his game. Raheem Sterling got his first goal, and he has more to prove. Hurricane is there, and we realize that they're playing more of a team game, and it's not going through one person that you're hoping, and you're putting all your hopes on one person to get goals. Clearly, everybody else is going to play that team game and get those goals.
I'm going to bring in Stefan for a moment, but I just want to piggyback on the point that Joel was saying about Raheem Sterling. So if Raheem Sterling scores 2 goals today, he'll be the highest scoring Jamaican-born footballer in World Cup history. Of course, Theodore Tappa-Whitmore with 2. Raheem Sterling, that was his first goal against Iran in his 3rd World Cup. It took some time, but we'll see how he copes against the Americans today, and also, of course, against Wales later within the competition. Stefan, you are a goalkeeper, you have that knowledge quite well, quite brilliantly, and I just wanted to know, because there's mixed views in England as well. Many people are still saying it should be Ramsdale between the sticks, and you have the crew that will say Pickford has done well and you should be loyal towards him as well, and some would argue as well in the northeast of England at Newcastle that Pope should be the man. I would love to know your thoughts about the trio in particular that England have carried.
In regards to the trio individually, I've been on record with Pickford varying ways. I've said he's a good young goalkeeper. I saw him come through Sunderland and I thought he was an excellent prospect. He's got his game, he got to Everton, and I thought it went terribly for him initially. He had a spell where he started pretty well, he went terrible, and I was just like, how is this guy still an England goalkeeper? But his recovery since then is fantastic. I've been in the camp where, as I've said before, I thought Gareth Southgate kicked a very sensible England squad. I don't necessarily see the need to change things up. I think he should be number 1. I think his position is firmly established, and he's been very good for the last season and a half. In regards to Ramsdale, big fan of him. Big fan of him. Modern goalkeeper. He plays the type of role I like to see a goalkeeper play. A little bit more technical, good, better on the ball than Pickford. But once again, as I said, you don't need to make changes unless they're enforced. And when it comes to the goalkeeper department, that is not a problem area for England, as we've seen in these tournaments. Pickford always goes there, he does well. I don't see any reason to change him right now unless you're going to dramatically change the playing style of the team, especially from the back. If that's not your plan, naturally Ramsdale will get there eventually, but there's no need to rush it.
Okay. Yeah, and of course with Jordan Pickford, he has the reputation himself, of course the Golden Glove at the European Championships. The only goals he conceded actually came from those set pieces, a free kick against the Danish team in the semi-finals, of course a corner kick against the Italians in the final itself. So the record is there to speak about what he has done. What we're going to do right now is show you a video about how England set up and lined up tactically a few years ago in Russia, and look at how they're likely to line up against the Americans today. So we're going to play that video and come back with more on our discussion. In this video, what we're going to do, quite simply, is look at how England looked at the last World Cup versus now. This is how England set up at the World Cup in 2018 in the early group stage games. This is how it looked, a 3-5-2 with a back 3 of Harry Maguire, John Stones, and Kyle Walker as that right-sided centre-back. Of course, Jordan Pickford in net. Kieran Trippier, right wing back, left wing back was Ashley Young. You had Jordan Henderson. Jordan Henderson was in the team. And, this was when Jordan Henderson basically had good spell. He was in good form, doing great things and everything. And England played with 2 number 10s, Dele Alli and Jesse Lingard. They had coming off of fantastic seasons. This was the best season, 2017-2018, that Jesse Lingard had with Manchester United. And of course, up top was Raheem Sterling and Harry Kane. Now, Raheem Sterling had that mobility, that freedom to move around. He was always up and down and up and down. And basically what you found what happened, because of his dynamic nature, what you found with the opposition is that they swarmed him. His diminutive size and everything. And even in the group stages against Panama, there was even a situation where there were 5 players trying to swarm him. But what happened was, as a result of the 5 players around him, Sterling played a neat ball towards Jesse Lingard, and Lingard put the ball in the back of the net, acres of space to work with, and it worked out so brilliantly for him. And of course, England, as they went 3-0 up in that game in particular. The centre-backs, it was an interesting one because it was the first time that we're seeing Kyle Walker in that right centre-back position, but he didn't look awkward in that sort of position, and neither should England fans feel worried if that is a position that he plays if Gareth Southgate decides to go back to a back 3. So Walker, he supported quite well to Kieran Trippier,
and very rare, but he underlapped quite well. And this was evident, especially in Colombia game in the round of 16. He got as high as here. He's one of the quickest players on the team, Kyle Walker, and advanced to positions such as here. And then when he made possession of the ball, then he was able to track back. Of course, we know the benefits of a back three, 3 points of attack, covers more space horizontally. Jordan Henderson, he stood there, and Dele Alli and Jesse Lingard, of course, offer that creative thrust towards Harry Kane up top. Ashley Young was not very much advanced in that sort of attacking sense. He took corner kicks quite well, but he wasn't a player that was whipping in crosses to the box every few minutes. And Kieran Trippier, defensive-wise, extremely solid. So he did an excellent job there. But the England team now, how do they look? How do they set up? Well, the truth is that there's been adjustments. Although at times they do have that 3-5-2 or that 4-3-3 sort of system, England right now, and from that first game that they had against Iran in the group stages of the World Cup, well, they've shifted to a back four, and that's a 4-3-3. And this is what an England team looks like right now, and this is something that has worked out quite well. I've spoken about disadvantages of having a midfield too, but what's so dynamic about this midfield is the emergence, the rise in form of Jude Bellingham. This 19-year-old is arguably the best teenage midfielder on the planet. The best teenage midfielder on the planet, arguably. Many people will say Pedri, many people will say Gavi, but Bellingham, moving from box to box, simply sensational, scoring England's first goal of the tournament. So what can we expect from England in this sort of system? Well, Rice will do the dirty work. He will mop up the danger in these sorts of pockets of space. Bellingham, quite intelligently, will know when to press and support Mount in attack, and will know when to make those late runs into the box when you have Bukayo Saka being able to either whip in crosses or cut in centrally or underlap. If Harry Kane is able to come into this direction, then that is something that can work. And of course, we know the guile of Raheem Sterling and what he's able to do. Cutting centrally as well is something that he can do and has the ability to do. And we saw that quite evidently when he scored as well. Kane whipping in the ball into the box and Sterling scoring his first World Cup goal in his 10th appearance. So that's something that is key for the England team. Do I expect England to go the back four for the entire tournament? No. I do expect by the quarterfinals, round of 16 time, but possibly to go with a back three. Kyle Walker is coming back from injury. And in addition to that, Calvin Phillips is also should be available as well. Rice and Bellingham are building up a nice tandem together. I wouldn't be willing to put Calvin Phillips in this mix, especially when you're bearing in mind how Bellingham has risen from being a squad player to slowly but surely becoming a regular for England. But it's good to have an option. If England is leading 3-0, 4-0, it's good to give Rice a rest and bring in, of course, Calvin Phillips, especially when you know that the result is not in any doubt. And especially for the forward three areas as well. That's something to consider. Bukayo Saka, he can get a rest. And of course, the player that can come in from it could be Phil Foden as well. Of course, Harry Kane as well. You have to preserve the legs there. It could be Callum Wilson, could be Marcus Rashford. And of course, Mason Mount could be rested for Conor Gallagher as well, or James Maddison. So those are options for us in particular. My thoughts on England, I think they should have enough to get a result against the United States. I say 3-0. England 3, United States 0. What are your thoughts?
So just to take some of the comments that we have in as well, Alexia da Costa, I don't like Pickford. He's short. He saves his seam overly dramatic. Suspect against long shots, but good passer. Mr. Special Edition says, 2 of my teams playing against each other, USA and England, but go USA. Really though? That's not nice. But anyways, we have a very, very special guest joining us on the panel this morning. And this is the president of the Brazil Fans Club of Jamaica, if there ever was such a member. But you see that jersey right there? It's so bright. Conrad Matheson, morning, sir. How are you?
Morning.
That's... I love that jersey. You know, you have to tell them.
And
yes.
Oh, that's what
the
it's...
jersey.
Yes, so the viewers can see. Topper.
It's a topper with my jersey.
Supporting the West.
Yes, it's one of my greatest memories of the world.
Yeah, and speaking about memories, your first World Cup memory, do you remember that in particular where you were?
Yeah. Actually, like my mom and my aunt, 1994, said myself and my cousin Javed needed to watch some teams and pick a team for the final. Okay. So on the final, my cousin chose Italy and I chose Brazil on the final day, right? It was a tight match, went to the penalties, and Baggio missed the penalty, and Romario scored, and then Brazil was my team. But I was very young. And then 1998, I am so elated about the same Brazilian team. Right. Then that's the year I hated Zidane because I thought my team was going to win again. Yeah. But I didn't, and then 2002 was the greatest World Cup of all times. The Ronaldo World Cup, the Ronaldinho World Cup. And that's when I actually have a great appreciation for the Brazilian team. So it's not a Waganese experience for me. It's really like growing up. It's like what the homes used to be like, you know. Right. Pick a team, learn about a team, and then bring it from there. So those were my things. But 1998.
Right.
We see the shirt.
Yeah, man. The Baby Gardner cross for Robbie Earl goal. Wow. I've never celebrated a goal like that before because it was just like I never expected us. You know, I was young and you know Jamaica is not known for football, so the fact that we scored and we scored first, I had hope. You know, we scored first, so I had a lot of hope. But then we lost that game. Then we got beaten massively by Argentina the following match. But the final game. Tapa really took the game to the crowd, and it's one of Jamaica's best games. So,
yeah, I mean it's amazing how time flies from 2002, the second memory that you mentioned. Yeah. So 2 decades on, and you're looking at this Brazil team now. Your thoughts about the makeup, the quality, the depth of what you have?
Well, this is the first time I've seen a Brazilian team look like the 2002 team. Right? This is the first time I look at a team from back to front. For the last couple of World Cups, Brazil had a very good attacking team, poor defensive team. This is the best World Cup I've seen where you can't mess with Brazil even in the goal. You can't mess with Brazil backline. Their midfield still need a little bit more steel in certain areas, but in terms of creativity outside of an Neymar, but otherwise it's one of their best teams. If you look at just the right wing, you could pick, everybody could start. Richarlison, Anthony, Rodrigo. All of them would start in another national team. So I think it's a very good and very strong team at the moment.
I was trying to find you yesterday, but I couldn't find you during Brazil.
No, man, I had to go watch the game with a couple of friends yesterday. I couldn't sit here and watch a game with my rivals, right? I had to go sit and watch a game with my friends.
You mean the rest of Jamaica?
Yes, the rest of Jamaica needed to watch the game yesterday. But I think Brazil, for me, yesterday still had some challenges working through. But it's the first game, and Chiche has this kind of team. It's a team of steel now, so they don't always hit you off the park at the start of the game. They can be patient. Yeah. I watched the first half and everybody was panicking, but I'm like, these people weren't watching the qualifiers. There is a lot of games here. Brazil seem to have just taken the game a little at a time, and then by the 70th or 80th minute, they win the game by 3-0. So this is not the first. And then everybody yesterday was like, the start of the game, how could Richarlison start the game? But they also don't watch Brazilian games because Richarlison is a god in the national team. I don't care about Tottenham fans. I don't know what happens when he plays for you, but I know for sure. I think he has 7 in 9 in 9. He's not a normal player in that team. Individual brilliance yesterday. I'm not gonna talk about that as a Brazilian thing, but overall it was a great team. I find it to be a little bit more balanced when Fred plays than when Lucas Paquetá plays. It's a very creative, it feels too open when he plays, and I do not want to take any chances this World Cup, so I'm a Man U fan. But yeah, so those are some of my fun memories of this World Cup so far and previous World Cups.
If I could just say, speaking of when you're talking about the whole of Jamaica cussing about Richarlison starting over, You have to remember that them watch Brazil, they don't watch qualifiers. They watch Brazil's in the competitions.
Certainly.
Copa America.
Copa America. They don't watch qualifiers.
No.
Yeah.
We don't watch that. We watch the big stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're expecting too much out of them.
No, and most Jamaicans are wagonists, so don't really, in terms of this
No man,
Brazilian
them
experience.
wagon been stuck in the same wagon for the entire time.
Well, I
Little
hope-
bit gone over to Argentina.
No, I think Argentina
Brazil-
wagon kind of the tire or the
Wheel
wheel
flat.
dropping off.
Little bit of the Brazilian wagon they
Yeah.
go over to Argentina, but the
Yeah.
Brazilian wagon
Yeah.
stay there.
Yeah, man. No,
I want to say it's because them have yellow in them, yellow
no,
and green
in
in their flag.
Conrad, where do you stand on the Neymar side of things? He's an asset to you, or more of a liability, or in between?
Oh.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah,
I think Chicha has learned a lot
Mhm.
from the last World Cup and the over-reliance on Neymar. And I think for the first time I'm seeing where yesterday, even when he came off, the team still looked good. The team still was challenging and making a very good show of themselves. I think this is a very good coaching experience for him. I think he built the team around Neymar the last time. I think he built a team this time. So he looks a little injured. His ankle was swollen yesterday. That's not something good because normally he's out when his ankle is swollen like that. But I'm not worried. The depth of squad, you could turn this team around upside down and Brazil still have a national team that can represent themselves well.
Yeah, and
So happy somebody said that.
yeah, there you go. And Conrad, I know you as a businessman, you look at these things, and something you mentioned before as well.
Right.
12 players in the Brazil squad playing the EPL. You start to see all of a sudden these guys coming to England. It surprised me.
No, yes, I said there's this experience that I've been seeing. There's a trend in football that I'm seeing. One, it started with Tottenham having the same two centre backs.
Yeah.
Vertonghen, Hallowell at the same team,
Yeah.
and then you realize Marquinhos and Thiago Silva at PSG. So I'm realizing that countries are strategically placing players in certain clubs to get certain make it easier for them when national team setups happen. So you're realizing it's not weird anymore. It used to be like, why are these two players playing in the same club? It's no longer weird. And I'm now seeing a new trend where all these Brazilian players are coming to the EPL. So I'm wondering if it's just to keep them, it's a competitive league, it keeps them sharp, it keeps them fresh. So when Chiche said, let's go, I only have 3 days to practice, they already have a foundational work done with great teams, great coaches. And they're also in very strategic clubs. If you look at the clubs and how they play, they're playing in clubs that play the kind of football that Brazil plays. So you're kind of realizing that countries are having greater strategic relationships with clubs. Not directly, but in terms of strategic players. And I think if countries like Jamaica want to do well, we need to start looking at what are some of these strategic models that countries are doing to make the sport easier for the national team.
Because like you said, as a United fan, once upon a time there was not a Brazilian there, or just Anderson.
Anderson is the only one, and him injured every 2 weeks, so we couldn't rely on him. But for the first time, we're having great Brazilian players. We love flair players. Manchester United love flair players, and Anthony's one of my favorites. I just love watching him play. Even when he swirls the ball around, I just like, even if it looks like showboating, I love it. It's just one of my things. And then the cement of the Brazilian team and the cement of the Manchester United team, Casemiro, it is the player that's going to give me a little hope to get in the top 4 and stuff. But just generally, when you have these kind of things, I am just loving what I'm seeing some of these coaches are doing. They are more open. Chiche was really just a South American coach, and now I'm seeing him steal some of the European styles. So it's a great joy to watch a football. If I don't win this World Cup, boy, I don't know what I'm going to do because this is my best chance of winning a World Cup.
Yeah, definitely a lot to go through. And just before you go, lastly, 3 more matches today. Your thoughts about the 3? The Dutch against the Senegal, and of course, England against USA and Qatar, Senegal.
Let me start with the Dutch. When you have Louis van Gaal in any team, coaching any team, I can tell you this: you can win any World Cup. I tell you that because he's a coach that understands how to win a game in the World Cup setting. I don't know what happened at the Manchester United time, but I know for sure when he builds a team around a particular system. He's not the typical Dutch coach.
Yeah.
Open, expansive, risk it. He's not the typical Dutch coach. He's a more defensive coach with giving 2 or 3 of his players open freedom to play. So I think for this time around, I think I love what the Dutch is doing. Senegal, I'm really sad because I watched Afghan and I was really hoping I could get a semi-finalist kind of team, because how they had the heart to play when they played Egypt, when all of those games that I saw, Mane really brought the team on the back, and to see this kind of loss to their team. But they still have some good players. I love what Sarr did in the first game. So I hope to see some good games from them. England, USA.
Yeah, you want to put on a scarf?
I would just say straight openly, the England game are the baddest game for the day right now. Like I don't have no, and I don't see what this is the best young US team in a long time.
Right.
But they're not ready yet. This is not their World Cup. This is not the World Cup for them. I think they should wait and they should keep on working on this team. And Captain America needs a little bit more time. This is not his World Cup. I don't see this as their World Cup. But England, watch the first game. I was a little nervous considering Nations League. But then after the first game, I was like, all right, yes, it's an easy team to play in the first game, and you concede 2 goals, Simon.
Yeah,
I was worried about that against a team that shouldn't be scoring at all.
Very.
Right? So then I think England has a very good team, and I think Southgate picked a very solid team for the first time. And not the first time, he's been doing this consistently for some time. I didn't like his substitutions in the last Euros, but at this time I think he did a very good job.
All right, Conrad, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to share about my fan club.
Yes, and definitely you guys can also follow Conrad Matheson on Instagram and Twitter as well. So if you want to join the Brazilian fan club of Jamaica, right? You can reach out to you.
Yeah, man, no problem.
All right, let me just bring up the graphic as we want to get a comment from Stefan before we wrap up towards match time. As it relates to the Brazilians, their opening game of a World Cup, it's absolutely fantastic. If you look in recent times, look at that record from 1990, absolutely brilliant. And in recent times as well, defeating Croatia that first game, Brazil that against the North Koreans back in 2010. Stefan, we have a few minutes to go. Just wanted to get your feedback as well. You spoke about Jordan Pickford, you spoke about Ramsdale, and just one more left to talk about, and that's Nick Pope. Many people said it should have been Dean Henderson on the plane. Many people have said that, or even Sam Johnstone.
If Dean Henderson had done the smart thing and never returned to Manchester United, he probably would be on the plane. But he is where he is because of his decisions, and I think he'll recover. I think he's a top prospect as well. Regards to Nick Pope, not a fan, never been a fan. I don't really think he's that good of a goalkeeper. I think he's from a bygone era, to say the nice political way. He's the third choice because he's the third best goalkeeper there.
All right, just a few more comments before we wrap up there. So we had Alexis saying, and then Conrad later learned it's hope that kills you. Jeff says, never seen a Tapa jersey in my life. Not even sure if Tapa has his own jersey. And Alexis is laughing as well. Conrad is the big Tapa fan, but it's a lovely kit, guys, and definitely Beautiful. If you guys want to hook up, Conrad can show you where to go or where to purchase it. Joel, just before you go, you're gonna wear this after the game, after England gets 3 points? No?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. All right.
It's not going to be a problem.
It won't be a problem. All right. And of course, the big game Sunday, Germany, Spain.
Germany, Spain, me and Jeff.
Yeah, that should be fun. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Really, really appreciate it. Thanks as well to Stefan and Joel for tuning in as well. And we'll be back for the afternoon at 4 o'clock for our post-game show after these 3 games. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Bye-bye for now. Good stuff.
County victory for England.
876 stream. Bless up.